given how much of our life is currently spent, getting information, learning new perspectives, and figuring out yourself a little bit more, I feel like it's important to learn how to allow things to pass. Too much of our life is spent, I feel like, adopting new ideas and adopting information that's not necessarily inherent to our character. And when I say allow it to pass, I don't just mean, you know, certain negative thoughts, but sometimes certain questionings of yourself. Allow it to pass is, in I guess, a reminder to allow yourself to be as you are. To allow things to not necessarily be inherent to your character. Like if someone says something, I guess, partially negative to you, or something happens in life that's negative, it's about learning how to not attach it to your character. Learning how to allow it to pass through you, allowing things to be as they are. And the same thing goes with our thoughts. Because I realize most of the things that stick with us are things that we give to ourselves. Things that we allow to internalize and become part of our character because we acknowledge them in such a way that it enforces them to sort of stay around. And with that, I mean, we don't treat our thoughts like thoughts. We treat them like windows into our being, windows into who we really are. But what I've realized, if anything, is that the self influences the thoughts more than the thoughts influence the self. Especially if you allow yourself to shine through. And that really just takes, taking a step back from the mind long enough to see yourself. Realize that whatever things go on in your mind, whatever problems exist in the mind, that's all they do. Exist in the mind. It's just important to differentiate and distinguish between what things serve you and what things don't. What things will allow you to be and what things you're allowing to be a part of you. Allowing things to pass is just about looking at the world's negativity, because it's always going to be there. There's always going to be things that are negative. There's always going to be perspectives that can be brought to you that are negative. It's just important to let these certain things go. Allow them to pass through you. Make sure they're not part of your character. And the best thing that I do for this is sort of laugh at the thought of certain things. Like if I ever was to think, I don't know, like my day was going to go bad, I just laugh at the thought. And say to myself, well, let's find out, with a positive intention. Because we really don't know. It's about learning how to be comfortable within this unknown. Learning how to be comfortable in the life that is given to you. Because at the end of the day, you have to do what you can with what you have. You can't do what you can with what you don't have yet. It's important to not, judge yourself based on everything you do not possess and living in reference to things you do not possess. Because at the end of the day, all you are is here. You're not there. You're not in the future. You're not in the past anymore. Overcoming the past and moving on to the future is about letting go. You can't move forward if you don't leave anything behind. And I think that's overall what's most important in life. To learn how to keep moving forward. And I said it in a video maybe a couple of days ago about how strength isn't really seen in our ability to never get hurt, to never get scarred, but to always come back, to always keep moving forward from whatever hardships that we face. And even if we bring it down small, I guess, like self-care. There are a lot of hardships that I feel like people go through with self-care, especially when it comes to like their face, acne and stuff, because acne is something I used to suffer with. And if you watch my videos in the past, back when I had like a little buzz cut, I talked about it sometimes. But I feel like acne is a thing that gets to a lot of us, and our appearance is something that gets to a lot of us. Well, I think it shouldn't. But if anything, our appearance and whatever we see ourselves as is a matter of our perception, one, and a matter of how much care we put into it. I personally think I look good, okay, but that's because I think I take care of myself to a certain degree. Like I care about my skincare, I care about everything that has to do with myself, and I feel like you should, because self-care isn't just in one application; it's in everything you do, just like yourself. So one thing I have been using, and I don't know if you guys have been watching for more than a month, but Teach Hanley was so grateful, and I'm so grateful for them. And they sponsored this video, and they sponsored a video in the past. But what they had supplied me was some face wash, this exfoliating scrubber. Hold on, y'all. The scrub, the PM moisturizer, the AM moisturizer, some eye cream, and some other stuff. And to be honest, I think it's changed my whole facial chemistry. Like, I feel like when it comes to our expression, I feel like it's somewhat important to feel comfortable with what's expressing. And that's why I feel like self-care and self-care of the physical is important, because you're not only mental, spiritual, you're also a physical thing. And there are things you need to take care of on a physical level. So since they're sponsoring this video, they're offering an amazing deal. I'm going to put a link in the description. They're going to give you 40% off this first kit that I showed y'all, offering pretty much everything. And it's also going to give you a free exfoliating brush. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, please be my guest. It works for me, so I'm pretty sure it can work for anybody. All in all, I just feel like that kind of care and that kind of allowing yourself to care sometimes is important as well. Because not only do you have to acknowledge when things aren't inherent to you, you have to acknowledge when things are inherent. And sometimes we have a little bit of trouble controlling what we feel is inherent. Like, because while I say, you can't take anything like that personally, if it's me, then I can take it personally. Because it's me that's experiencing this thing. It's me that has every responsibility. And of course, I could just let myself go and say, oh, I don't want to work out anymore. I don't want to take care of my face. I don't want to get haircuts. I don't want to do any of this, that, and the other. Because I think that everything's mental. And to some extent, it's true. But in the age we live in the time I live in, there's a certain amount of physical application that comes with, your mental learning. And I feel like it's very important, if not integral to our character, to cultivate something that you can love and appreciate. And I feel like any appreciation comes with work and attention that you give to it. It's about the appreciation you give yourself that makes you appreciate yourself. In general, it's about that constant giving. And I feel like if we're truly giving to ourselves and allowing ourselves to be, it also takes an amount of care for everything that we do. Care for our mind, body, and spirit. And in reference to the mind, in reference to allowing it to pass, it really is just about validating yourself and validating the way you look at the world, validating your perspective and your highest truth. And what I mean by that is, there are going to be times where, people conflict an ideal and they'll say something you think is inherent to your character. It's about not having anything too specific to your character that you feel like any word can shake you up. If you allow someone to make you feel a certain way, then in my head, you're in their control. It's about how much of yourself you have within your control, how much of yourself you can put into these situations, you can put into the world without being affected. And I feel like anyone who is not affected by the world has been affected many times. That's to say, allowing things to pass takes time, but it also takes intention. It's about seeing something that's in your head aiming to attack your character and telling yourself it's not attacking my character, because it's not. It's about how much we are allowing things to be personal when they're not. If you have a perspective, you have an idea, and you share it, and that's your truth, and that's what you feel, it's about accepting that as your truth. If you tell yourself, oh, I can do this, it's about accepting that as your truth, and continuing to move forward. I feel like questioning the self, and when I made a video about not having any questions gives you the answer, or something like that, it's really about living in your world, living in a world you want to live in, because at the end of the day, we all live in our own personal heaven and hell. And it's important to not dictate what your heaven looks like based on other people's opinions. Of course, be moral. Of course, be honest with yourself. If a perspective has a certain strength to it, or a certain back into it, it's okay to look into certain things. But it's not okay to live in a perspective that's negative for you. Someone may say something constructively critic. And that's not to say and take it inherent to yourself, but realize the truth in what they said, if there is truth there. Understand that if you are somewhat offended by these certain things that people say, I feel like to some degree we agree. And that's not to say that like if someone says I'm ugly and I get hurt by it, that I think I'm ugly. But to say that since I'm allowing that certain thing to persist in my head, there must be a part of me that's insecure about that. Because if I was really secure, if you're really confident, would you even question it? Is there any question needed to be had if you're truly affirming yourself in this world and allowing yourself and allowing things to go through you? It's about making room for yourself in everything, understanding that you take up space and you can use anything around you. Your vicinity is something you have to have confidence in. And that's not to say that, you only can look at the world from your perspective, only can look at, certain things from certain viewpoints, but to say you have to understand where what you're looking at comes from. Understand whether or not what you're looking at actually has backing and grounded in who you are and what you are. Like if I do bad on a test and I don't study for it and they say you need to study, I'm not going to say, oh, that's not inherent to me, I don't need to study because I'm someone who doesn't need to. That doesn't make sense. It's about learning from your past choices, not necessarily mistakes, and moving forward. Because there's no such thing as a should or could have. Only things that you have done. And if what you had done in the past didn't work, it's important to learn how to adapt and change. Understand that it's also about how you feel about what you're doing and the presence that you share when you do it. I feel like studying and any cultivation of self takes intention and takes presence. If you're going to be anything, be yourself. And I feel like all that comes with and all that is necessary to do that certain something is to allow yourself to be. Allow things to be as they are as well. You can't control the world. You can't control everything around you. And like I said, power isn't your ability to exercise control over everything else. It's your ability to exercise control over yourself. How much of yourself you have in your possession. And I feel like to have yourself truly in your possession is to understand what is yourself. Not necessarily understanding yourself to the 100% depth, because 99% of who you are is an internal thing, and he who thinks the journey is over is truly lost. But that's also to say, understand your foundation. Understand your positivity, your love, the things that you give to yourself, the understanding of what you currently are, understanding of what you have currently accepted, and realize there is room for growth. But understand when things aren't personal and when things aren't inherent to your character. Not every sign is a bad sign, and sometimes the best lesson is given by not going to the lecture. Like I don't have to go out here to figure out, I don't have to fail a test to figure out I need to study. I can ask myself whether or not I grasp the information properly. It's just about being conscious with yourself and allowing yourself to be human. Allowing yourself to be sort of imperfect so you can see the imperfection, so you can see what you need to change. Nobody needs to be perfect because there's no such thing as perfection. There's only acceptance and allowance of self. And I feel like everyone should love themselves regardless, because it's not necessarily about your application or achievement or anything you do in this life. It's just about who you are and how much enjoyment you can find in your day to day. And I think that's important. Just the mentality that you take on the world, the mentality that you take on yourself, and how you allow yourself to be. Whether or not you want to allow yourself to be a positive, negative, neutral person, whatever makes you feel most like you, and continuing to do that. And I guess not necessarily allowing things in the world to shake you up. It's not about necessarily being unshaken, though. It's about understanding through trial and error, through scarring and healing, that you can persevere through anything. And allowing things to pass isn't necessarily saying don't confront anything. It's saying confront what needs to be confronted. Understand what needs to be understood, and the things that don't need to be, the things that aren't inherent to your character, let them pass. Time is too short and time is too long for us to be worried about certain things that don't necessarily not contribute to ourselves, but aren't a part of ourselves. And when I say that, I'm talking about the things that we accept as part of ourselves and we think is inherent to our character. Because whether or not we find importance in the words that are spouted by other people or the events that take place in our life, it's about our relationship to it. It's not just about what happens, it's about what you're bringing to it. And I personally feel like, since I'm trying to be positive, trying to be a kind of person, trying to do this, that, and the other for myself and for my understanding, no matter the situation I'm put in, there's going to be a inkling of positivity there, because I'm there. Even at my hardest recent times, whenever I'm down, it still feels like a relative up, because no matter what happens, no matter what down I'm feeling, my thoughts are telling me otherwise. They're telling me positive things, because I'm constantly trying to give myself positivity, because I'm allowing myself to be positive. Because negativity is an easy thing to do. Positivity is sometimes difficult, but just as much confidence as you have in a negative outcome, you can have in the positive. If you think you're not confident, you're confident that you're not confident. You're confident that you're not secure. There's a duality to this confidence of self. And I think we have to recognize and realize we have to choose what we want to be. You have to choose to be better. And you have to become aware of who you really are and what makes you most comfortable. Because I feel like any progression of self and any realization of self happens when you feel the most comfortable. And that's not to say that the self is over or there's no more self to be gained, because there's always going to be more situations you find discomfort in. But that discomfort, I find, is really just the unknown. It's the not knowing. And there's a certain beauty to that, because not knowing means you can fill it with whatever. It can be that positivity. It can be that life that you want to give to it. You just have to be intentional and understanding enough to give it that life. Because at the end of the day, life isn't something you're trying to see. You have to be the life, not try to see it. So if you made it this far in the video, I really hope you enjoyed. Here's my dog. I had to take care of him today. So he's been in my room this whole time I've been making a video and bothering me. But, he's cool. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you didn't, I'm sure I did. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourself and being honest and allowing things to pass. If you guys really want to up your skincare game, check out Teach Hanley. I'm about to put the link in the bio once again. So thank them again for sponsoring this video, and thank you all for watching. Please stay tuned. I'm going to try to stream more, a little bit more. I keep saying this in every video. I really hope I have 2 streams by the time this comes out. Thank you all so much.